Hi, Tia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing fine. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Hanging in there. Can't complain. It's a nice day. It's the last day of a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, nice and sunny.
Are you here in the Bellingham area?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I live downtown. My partner and I moved over almost a year ago.
Nice. I'm up in Ferndale.
Cool. It's a cool, nice area.
Yeah, it's not bad. There's no worse places to be. I've lived in some. Are you from this area originally?
I was born in Wenatchee, so I just moved over from Central Washington, pretty much.
Oh, nice. My sister-in-law lives out in Wenatchee.
Really?
Yep. She just
What's her
moved there
name?
from Bellingham, like probably a year or two ago.
Oh, okay. Well, I probably don't know her then. This is Max.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Max? How you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Hanging in there, sir. Can't complain. I'm gonna leave my cam off tonight just because I'm wiped out, man. I spent the it took me longer than I expected. I spent the last 2 days working on project for my e-bike, and so I'm just like I'm wiped out. I need to take a shower after this, and then I'm probably just gonna like lay down. Well, I'm gonna take a bike ride, and then I'm gonna take a shower, and then I'm gonna lay down.
Nice.
Sounds like good
What's
plan.
an e-bike?
It's like a bike with an electronic motor on it.
Oh, e-bike. So sweet.
Yeah, I heard knee too.
Oh, knee. It's a Monty Python bike. It's a bike that just says knee, knee, knee as you drive.
Nice.
What's up, Brad? You're on mute if you're saying hi. And Max, it was Max you said?
Yep.
Max and Tia? Okay. Are you also from Wenatchee?
I'm originally from Connecticut, but I've lived in
Oh, nice.
Leavenworth just moved over to Bellingham within the last 6 months or so.
Right on. I haven't been to Leavenworth yet. I'm not originally from the area. I've heard that Leavenworth is cool. I just haven't had a chance to make it out there yet. I've only lived in Washington for it'll be 5 years in November.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. Yeah, it's a good spot. There's a lot of outdoor stuff to do.
Nice. Hi, Rob. I see you're unmuted now. Brad, I don't know if you can hear us.
Oh,
Yeah.
hello. Did I do that right?
Yeah, hey, there you go.
Oh, hey.
And we got Mark too. Hey, Mark. I think Ernest should be joining us.
Hello.
I just randomly happened to run into to Ernest, my co-host, yesterday. I was donating some glasses at a eye doctor that's right next door to his offices, where we usually hold these in person. Well, no, I shouldn't say usually, but we sometimes hold these in person. It hasn't been usual over the last year or so. But hi, Britt. See a couple of new names. Brad, you're a return visitor, right? Or at least we've had someone named Brad join in the past.
Yeah, that was me. I've been working kind of evenings, and Mondays were not my days off. So
Nice. What about you, Brady? I feel like I've seen the name Brady before in one of our meetings, but I can't remember if you're a return visitor or if you're new.
Hey there, I'm new.
Okay, that's the problem with having these once a month, and I have kind of a bad memory anyway. So, and if I was better about it, I'd like take notes or something. I actually just set the meeting, just so everybody knows, I set these meetings to auto record just because people asked if we could record them just for those who aren't able to make it. So welcome, Brady, first timer. Where are you from?
I'm down south from Bellingham. I'm in Mercer Island.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Well, welcome. Always nice to have semi-local
Yeah.
join us. Eric, how are you tonight?
You guys hear me all right?
Yeah, kind of. You're kind of distant. Sounds like you're talking down a hallway or something.
All right, let me turn up my gain, my Yeti. Sorry, I just got the background noise way up. All right, any better?
Oh, wow. Sort of. I can actually hear you now, but then it also cranked up your background noise as well. That's better. Whatever you did just now, turned it down.
All right. Well, I usually mute out if
Hey,
I'm
there
not
we go.
talking, so
Yeah, that sounds a lot better. No background noise, and I can hear your voice. So
cool.
this is a first time for you. I don't recognize your name.
I was at the physical meetup a couple months ago, so I
Oh, okay,
wasn't able to
okay.
make it last week.
Yeah, cool. No, that's great, man. That would explain why I don't remember seeing your name in Zoom anyway. So yeah, welcome. Sorry we switched up last minute. We were gonna have an in-person component to this meeting, and then it's been a rough.
Yeah, it's all
weeks.
good. You gotta flex with the days.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, on the plus side, going forward, I can't always guarantee that we'll have an in-person component to the meeting, but I can guarantee that every meeting will have a Zoom component, even if there is an in-person. I bought a camera called a Meeting Owl. I'm laying on the couch in my office, looking at the Zoom screen on my big screen, so I'm too lazy to get up and type it into the Zoom chat. But if you want to Google it, it's a really interesting camera. It's like a kind of a tall device with a 360-degree camera mounted on the top, and it has a bunch of microphones and speakers in it and all that, and it uses fancy AI to figure out who's talking, and then it will focus on frame that person while they're talking. And so it makes for interesting. It allows you to kind of have a camera in a conference room or a small meeting room that's kind of centered in the room, and then allow a group to participate in like a web conference, basically. So
Cool. Yeah, I haven't heard of that, but it sounds pretty neat.
yeah, I do a couple of other meetings. Like tomorrow, I have like a Toastmasters meeting, and the same thing. We've been, meeting. Well, during the pandemic, we were meeting remotely, and then trying to transition back to in-person meetings. But we picked up a few members of our Toastmasters group. Like one gal lives down in Bellevue, which is, I mean, it's a bit of a haul to drive up to Bellingham from Bellevue, and we have another gal who's been joining us from Tucson, Arizona, which is even longer drive.
Yeah, I think the only continent I haven't seen yet is Antarctica. So I've seen someone somewhere on Zoom over the last year and a half. So yeah, it's wild.
Nice. Yeah, I know a gal who spent some time in Antarctica. So if you really want, I could probably arrange if you want to check that off of your bingo list for some reason.
No, don't need it. I actually thought about going there once, but it's like a little too cold.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, Aurora, saw you drop in there.
Hi, Dan. Sorry, I'm
How are
late.
you? Oh, no problem. No, nobody's gonna. Heck, Ernest hasn't even joined us yet. I'll have to text him and see if he's coming. I randomly ran into him yesterday. I was going to donate some eyeglasses to a an eye doctor that's right next door to his offices here in Bellingham. And it's funny because as I was driving up, I was thinking to myself, "Oh, I should stop in and see if Ernest is there." And as I pulled in, he was like walking down the side of the building, so I stopped and talked to him for a few minutes. Hi there. Is that IP? Yep. feel like there's a Bart Simpson joke in there somewhere.
IP freely.
Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started. I'm gonna shoot Ernest a text real quick and just see if he's gonna join us. I mean, all right, so I sent my co-host a text and give him a chance to drop in. Knowing him, he probably got stuck on another Zoom call. So welcome to I guess we'll go ahead and get started now that we're approaching 10 minutes after the official start time. Welcome to the September Bellingham Bitcoin and cryptocurrency meetup. I gotta say, I'm actually pretty surprised at how many folks we have, given the last minute change from in person to Zoom. And then the fact that it's also a holiday. Happy Labor Day, y'all, for those that are in the US, which I think is everybody tonight. Yeah, don't really have a set agenda or anything. Also, my wife just messaged me and said that dinner is done, so I'm going to step in and pick that up here in a minute. So I guess anybody have anything that they want to talk about? I guess big news that I heard is I guess the El Salvador Bitcoin thing goes into effect tomorrow. Is the official first day of Bitcoin being legal tender in El Salvador. I know you have some thoughts on that, Aurora.
I mean, I don't know that much about El Salvador. I have heard mixed reviews about the president and his authoritative demeanor. So, just I don't support anything blindly. So I don't really know.
Sure.
That being said, the fact that he chose to implement the type of currency that he himself will have more trouble manipulating in the future seems to me like, might be that he's clumsy or might be that he has some genuine good intentions, but either way, I'm hoping it works out for people from El Salvador. So I'm not.
In general.
Yeah.
I was going to say, in general, I don't really trust politicians, but like you, I think it's interesting that he picked. I mean, they could have just been like, hey, we're starting our own fiat currency, right? And then we can control everything. We're starting our own, digital fiat or something. You know what I mean? Like they had a couple of different things that they could have done.
I come from a country where the president chose that. What you are describing. They are sort of trying to embrace crypto, but they are not really, because what they are doing is creating their own. So this will be, there's no reason to believe that they will be able to manage a cryptocurrency any better than they have managed the fiat currency. So, it's at least a little bit hopeful that Nayib Bukele chose to do this through Bitcoin. So I'm sort of cautiously excited about tomorrow.
Sorry, remind me, you're from Venezuela.
Venezuela. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's I remember hearing about the Petro cryptocurrency or whatever, but then I never really heard about it again. Which, to be fair, I also never really went out of my way to follow up and look for it. But yeah, it seems like not a super successful project.
No, because
I'm gonna step away real quick and just grab my dinner. I'll be just a minute. I'll be right back.
All right. So who all is here, and what have you heard that you thought was interesting about Bitcoin in the last week or couple of weeks?
It's like we have a bunch of bots here because no one else is on camera or talking.
No,
but
Brad was saying something interesting in the chat. Oh, hello, James.
Hey, how's it going? I'm not a
Hi.
bot, so.
Oh, hello, Tia Gleason. Where are you all at?
We're in
Seattle.
Bellingham.
Seattle?
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I've never actually made it to one of the Bellingham meetings. I was going to go today. I finally had a.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
been really following. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying I haven't really been following Bitcoin all that much because my time is all pretty much spent on Ethereum and DeFi because I'm actually a smart contract dev working at a DeFi startup, so I don't really have time to really follow.
I've heard that life has gotten busy over there, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot of like when you actually work on this stuff, it's like I would say like crypto is all fun and games until you actually have to build it because it's a lot of work and it's not a ton of tools you can leverage at this point. So, but it's pretty interesting. Like DeFi stuff is certainly.
Well,
What's are you comfortable sharing what DeFi project you work with, James? Just curious.
Oh yeah. So I work at a company called Notional, and it's basically a DeFi fixed rate lending protocol. Like I don't know if everybody here is familiar with DeFi, but if you look at a lot of the DeFi stuff like Aave and Compound, they're mostly variable rate lending, right? Like there's not much fixed rate lending going on. And in order for lending to be useful for like everyday stuff, it has to be more or less fixed rate lending. Like variable rate lending might be good for like temporarily absorbing like some kind of money market demand or something like that for like short term, maybe leverage trading or something, but it's certainly not so good for like long term debt. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're working on, and it seems like most of the innovative DeFi projects are happening sort of in the Ethereum ecosystem. Things like risk tranches and some of the power perpetuals options, structured products, insurance. A lot of these DeFi things are happening in the Ethereum ecosystem. But obviously there's the scaling issue that people are trying to tackle. I mean, there's like L2s and potentially ETH2 and in the works. I mean, it's gonna take a while for sure. So I don't know.
It's interesting you mentioned that, James. I haven't really followed Ethereum development all that closely lately. What's the current status on ETH2? And I know they've been talking about proof of stake.
Yeah, well,
is that
ETH2 is still I would say probably not going to happen anytime soon, right? So I mean, it's just the fact that the network is so valuable, and it's probably not a good idea to mess it up. So it's probably going to take a while, but in the meantime, there's a ton of layer 2 solutions that are coming out, and potentially could like the layer 2 stuff could potentially solve some of the issues. And it all depends on a lot of the wallet providers and the exchanges. If they decide to go ahead and start integrating some of these L2s, it'll definitely ease the pressure on the L1 network. The security, what do you mean? Like, it's pretty much up to the dev team to really make sure it's secure.
Isn't it just always all the DeFi programs getting hacked because of the Solidity is basically based on Java, and Java was never really meant to be that secure?
My understanding that a lot of the smart, and James, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. My understanding that most of the smart contract hacks are not necessarily an issue with Solidity itself, just with how the smart contract is coded. Like there's basically there's a logic flaw in the smart contract itself, not necessarily a flaw in like the underlying programming language, right?
Yeah, there's really never just like a one size fits all security thing, right? Like if you look at most of a lot of the hacks, so we typically have things that are like intentional, right? Like intentional scams, like people basically rug pulling and doing all kinds of stuff. So that's one that has nothing to do with really smart contract security. It's just the fact that people are essentially putting out these scam projects, right? That's now how they're doing it is kind of interesting because I think the only reason why they're successful is because most people can't read smart contract code, right? Like that's not something that's easy to do. But like when you have a smart contract that's deployed, you're not supposed to be able to change it. Like that's just the way it works, right? So if you have the code that's all written and compiled, and then you deploy it, kind of as a deployer, you can deploy the code. So once it's deployed, it's immutable. It's supposed to be immutable. Like you're not going to be able to change the contract code at all. Like even if you're the deployer, you can't change the code. Now that kind of presents an issue, right? In terms of upgradability and even like fixing a bug. How are you going to do it, right? So like back in the day, right? Like in the early days of Ethereum, that was kind of the model. Like people would create a contract, and then they would deploy it, and then that's it. Like if there's a bug or something, they're gonna have to deploy a new version and then kind of beg everybody to upgrade, right? There's no, you can't just fix something, because like these days, like people don't realize that, right? Like a lot of times I like look at some of the contracts and then I put some money in, and then the next day it'd be like a tweet that comes out and says, "Oh, we just fixed an issue. Like, don't worry about it." I was like, "Well, that's not good." How did you fix it? What did you do? How did you fix it? Right? So
what even was the issue?
Yeah. No, how did you change the contract? Right? So so the thing is, like these days, people kind of care more about like user experience and then upgradability. So basically, there is this pattern in Ethereum where the actual contract logic sits behind a proxy contract. So the proxy contract holds on to the storage, but then the business logic is handled by a contract that's kind of behind it. And then what you can do is you can, if you want to upgrade the code, you can just upgrade the actual implementation contract and then just point the proxy at the new implementation. Now who controls the proxy, right? Who owns the proxy? That's where the different levels of decentralization kind of come in. So if the proxy is owned by, say, somebody's MetaMask, right, then that's not really decentralized. If the proxy is owned by multi-sig wallet, that's a little bit better. So it's instead of one person, maybe just one team, right? But if the proxy is owned by governance, then that's slightly better. That means you got to have some voting, right, to be able to change that. Or in the best case scenario, you have something like Uniswap where there's essentially no proxy. Uniswap V2, right? So like a lot of people are saying, oh, the SEC is investigating or looking at Uniswap. Well, I can still pull the liquidity out of the contract even if Uniswap decides to shut down because nobody controls the contract, right? Now the thing is with the rug pull, right? That's really they just basically deployed a good contract behind the proxy, and then so that kind of passed all the audits and everything, and people were like, oh, that looks okay. And then once it's deployed, they just swap it out with a contract that just takes all the money, right? That's not really I wouldn't call it a security thing. It's just people aren't really paying attention to how the contract's written, right? So that's one set of issues. And the other kind of security thing would be something like an exploit, where the contract's kind of doing what it's supposed to be doing, but it's basically not like it's like the logic is correct, but not the kind of the intended kind of like all these side effects are coming out that people, like all the edge cases that they didn't consider. A lot of like flash loan attacks would be probably in that category, or like reentrancy attacks would be also be in that category, where somebody could take a flash loan out of like Aave and then manipulate either exchange rates or interest rates, and then do some crazy stuff to drain the pool and then pay the loan back, right?
James, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that one of the security issues with all these DeFi projects is that the contracts are difficult to read and people don't really know exactly what they're getting into, and so they get rug pulled. Do you envision a future in which everybody who uses the crypto space is like so into it that they're able to? No, right?
No.
So there's going to be a little bit of like outsourcing of trust in a sense, like we do with brands, or like to a certain extent, many people feel comfortable leaving a few $100s on Coinbase, and it's fine. We sort of trust them. It's because they have a lot to lose if they screw up, and we sort of.
Well, I would say like for example, right, the top 10 DeFi projects, probably they're not going to rug pull. Like the thing is, once you get to a certain size, it becomes really difficult to do that because there's so much money in there. And then the code has been scrutinized like a million times, because we have, for example, Compound, right? We actually use some of the libraries from Compound. And if there's anything fishy in there, I mean, we actually go line by line sometimes.
So in those contexts, it is also the case that like the largest, most valuable.
Yeah, if it's got some ecosystem around it, if it's got like 1,000 different integration points, it's gonna be hard for them to rug pull, right? It's like the bigger it gets, the more, like, most rug pulls are like tiny projects, like fly by night kind of like degen farming type projects, right? You're not gonna, like, if you see a project that's just like that just create a GitHub and maybe upload, or not even GitHub, right? Just uploaded some contracts somewhere, and then on DApp Radar they like say, okay, this is like the new, like, I don't know, like whatever swap, right, or whatever, something like that. That's probably gonna rug pull, right? So it's usually those, like, you can just look at it, and even without looking at the code, you should be able to kind of tell if it's likely to rug pull or not. I mean, like, Uniswap isn't gonna really rug pull because the code is so it's open source. It's like what pretty. I mean, people. I mean, I recently had to really go deep into Uniswap v3 because I'm working on the Flash liquidator stuff, and yeah, into the code, it's like it checks out, right? Like there isn't anything fishy. Like it's not like there's a random function that swaps out the implementation. There isn't something like that in the code. And if there isn't that function in the code, then it just, you're not going to be able to rug pull or it's like the Bitcoin code, right? It's open source. I mean, people could look, a lot of people are saying, hey, what if there's like a backdoor in there? Well, I mean, if it's open source, it's pretty hard to hide something like that in there. I mean, you could potentially, I guess, if you like, no, I don't think so, right? Like it's just too just basically just too many people looking at it. It's very, very hard for them to do something fishy, right? It's usually the scam projects are like tiny projects with like maybe $1 million in there or something, maybe a couple million, and like the contract itself, it may not even be verified. Like Etherscan, right? If you go on to Etherscan, you can actually look at if a contract's verified, right? The source code matches what the bytecode is supposed to be, and sometimes you see a project with just rug pull and it wasn't even verified. Like, well, then that's just like, that's the thing about decentralization, right? When people, like, the thing is, people want decentralization. Well, if you want decentralization, you have to care. You actually have to put in some work to research some of this stuff. Because a lot of people were telling me like, oh, we want like decentralized voting. We think the voting is too concentrated. It'd be much better if we could decentralize this voting module. Or if we're going to decentralize the voting module, then people actually have to vote. They actually need to do research on what some of these parameters actually do, right? In order for voting to actually be truly decentralized, because you can't just blindly vote and not wanting to kind of put in the work. That's actually a huge issue. I agree. It's a big issue in DeFi right now because people want decentralization, but at the same time, they don't actually want to do work. They don't want to put in the time to research what some of these parameters actually do, right? Because with DeFi, a lot of these protocols are pretty complicated, and they require a lot of parameters to be set correctly.
So James, like, as a DeFi newbie, how would I just use this as a user? Do I need to own any crypto as a backed asset in order to take this loan or fixed loan or variable loan?
Well, yeah, if you're a newbie, I would say it's probably not a good idea to participate in governance, right? So you can just you can kind of get used to the platform just by locking up a little bit of collateral and taking out a loan.
But that's how it works in general. You have to have collateral in order to take any of these loans, correct?
For now, yes, because there are two, I would say, two issues in DeFi that I think, or like DeFi lending specifically, that I think kind of, they're pretty big issues. One issue is obviously the fixed rate stuff, so that's being solved. And the other issue is credit, right? There's no we don't really have this decentralized credit system like FICO and all that stuff. There really is no way to basically allow you to get a loan without collateral, right?
Yeah, you got to have the assets to back up a loan. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least
there's no way to tell a bad borrower from a good one.
Not yet.
And do they usually do like a loan to value ratio? So I mean, this is the new. Yeah. You can only do up to like 80% or 75.
Yeah, it's actually relatively conservative, and that's something that can be set by governance, right? So if
no, what will be said by government?
Governance.
Oh, okay.
So in DeFi, when you have a smart contract, and if you want to change one of the parameters, because the smart contract, once it's deployed, you're not going to be able to change it, right? So, but you do have a way to kind of change it through calling some functions, and like the values of those variables. And typically, when the way to call that is through some kind of governance module. So you would initiate a proposal, and the proposal would be to like call this function on this contract and set this value to, like, say, right now it's like 50% LTV. Let's set it to 80% LTV. So that would be that bytecode that gets eventually going to get executed. That's going to be your proposal. So the proposal isn't just like some text. It's not like we're going to do this. No. DeFi governance is a lot more on chain and a lot more tightly coupled than that. So like, it's actually what function you're going to call on this contract with the specific value. So people need to understand that this is what is actually going to change, and this can be verified on chain. It's all validated, and then people vote, right? And then you take your whatever governance tokens or something you have, and then you vote on the proposal. And if it passes, that function actually gets called on chain by the governance module, which has ownership owner, whatever, like privileged access to that contract. So that's typically how it works.
So James, I was doing some Googling here. Is notional.finance, is that
Yes.
you guys?
Yeah, that's
Nice.
yeah, we're not gonna rock this.
So I know that some people in the past, and maybe some people tonight, or maybe some people that would watch this recording at some point, have asked about, jobs in the crypto space. I'm curious if you could share your experience of like how you came across that job, or how you ended up in that role.
Oh, well, that's kind of like, for me, so I've been pretty much been doing crypto for a while. I initially started out as an Ethereum miner, and this was
Nice.
back in 2016. I mined with about 1,000 video cards, and like across 3 different locations. And
you
then
say 1,000 video cards?
1,000 video cards, yes.
Nice. So you're the guy that all my gamer friends want to kick the crap out of.
Probably, yes. So then I discovered DeFi roughly around back in early 2018. So that's when I started to kind of phase out of mining, and I'm officially pretty much out of mining like 2 months ago, and I'm just pretty much all DeFi. And so how did I get this job? Well, the thing is, I initially wasn't really looking specifically for something in DeFi. Like I just wanted initially I wanted to just do this do like DeFi stuff like full time, like just doing like liquidity, like just providing liquidity and do all that kind of stuff. But then I kind of came across this opportunity on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, because I know how to do smart contracts, and I have this kind of also the software kind of knowledge. And then I just basically talked to the CTO, and that was it. So I mean, it's usually if you're passionate about it, and then you're willing to kind of put in some time, it's not. I would say it's different. It's very different from traditional kind of software development. It's not exactly the same, but it's I wouldn't say it's like more difficult. It's just different. It's very different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
right? So you kind of have to think differently. You're more like resource constrained. So it's a little bit like kind of like embedded programming, like where you're really resource constrained. And then you're like trying to optimize like every line to save some gas, for example, right? That's
Yeah.
so there's that, and also security. So you have to be pretty careful, and like you have to scrutinize pretty much every line of code to make sure it's correct. I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of local testing before you even deploy it to like a test net or something. But still, it's like once it's out there, it's going to be a pain to upgrade and change and fix things. So
There's
yeah.
an audit process too, though, right?
Yeah. So there's that. So what we're we have like we have like a specific security company that's doing the audit, but we also have this community audit like contest where basically community members can just audit for this bounty that we're giving out. So that's but I mean ultimately these audits they're effective, but it's hard to say if
Nothing beats.
Right, it's not going to be bulletproof. So
yeah, nothing beats the real world, right? You know, you just got to get it out there and then have people stress test it, if you will.
So DeFi is very experimental. I mean, you gotta understand that it's all like, but the thing is, the more hacks that happen, the more kind of robust it becomes, and that's why insurance is important, right? Insurance is kind of important. But the problem with the DeFi insurance is the fact that DeFi insurance itself hasn't really been stress tested. We don't actually know. We don't have too much data on that. Like if DeFi insurance is actually going to be able to deal with all the payouts and stuff, all the claims.
James, would you be interested in, not to like put you on the spot or whatever, would you be interested in, it could be at any point in the future, having like 15 to 20 minutes of one of our meetings to go over like, because I know, something that people have asked is like, how do I get started in smart contract development? That's not my thing. I'm not a developer. I don't do anything with smart contracts. But I do think that there are some people who would be interested to know that. And if you'd be, down to share some of that info, just sort of like a quick and dirty, like here, if you wanted to get started with smart contract development, here are some resources to like, I don't know, to get started to look into it kind of thing.
Sure, like 15, 20 minutes and like
whatever you're comfortable with, man. You want to take 10, that's fine. You want to take 30, that's fine. I mean, like I said, no stress.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're very laid back here.
I can also kind of show some stuff like just without even getting into like coding, right? Just like how to use tools, for example. Right?
Like I don't want it to be like here's the code review time or whatever, but more rather like here's where you could start to get a foundation of like if you want to, because I mean, especially if somebody's not a developer, it's not like they're just going to jump into Solidity, right? Like that's not so like
so I think maybe at a high level, like how to look at Etherscan effectively, for example, right?
Yeah,
or
that'd be cool.
how to look at some of these DeFi transactions, like how do you actually look at a Uniswap transaction, for example? Like where is the liquidity coming from? How is it?
I don't know how you feel about that, Ernest. I saw you join there, Mr. Yes, thank you. I see your okay sign, Mr. 1+ Nord. in 200 5G.
Hey man, what can I
Rocking that
say?
new phone I see.
Burner phone is a 5G. But anyway, yeah, I am. You know me, I'm not spending a whole lot for a phone, but it's very extraordinary information that you're sharing there, James. And I think that whatever level that you're willing and have time to communicate in this community, it's only beneficial for the group, because this is what this group is all about, to give people the opportunity to learn and touch bases with people that may be more knowledgeable, or, it doesn't matter what level you're at, you're here because you want to learn. So if we can provide content that's beneficial for everybody, and you're willing to do that and participate, one or two times, that would be fantastic. We'd appreciate that.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, is this predominantly a Bitcoin group, or is this?
Well, it's basically all things
Bitcoin and crypto. Yeah.
All things crypto.
Okay, I see. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about Bitcoin is well, I don't know about you guys, but for me, there's not much I'm doing with my Bitcoin. I'm just pretty much just hodling, and there's no like DeFi development or anything. It's pretty much all just like geopolitical at this point. I think it's just all like, I think it has matured.
Well, I've been
I mean-
I've been trying to get into a Lightning network to like understand.
Oh, Lightning
exactly-
network?
Yeah, like how layers.
Are you running a node, or
What?
are you
No,
running
no,
a?
Not
node?
yet.
Okay.
No. I think I'm going to soon, but no. So far, I've only like looked into a little bit into the algorithm. Like it's cool how it sort of discovers the path and stuff, and downloaded Strike, put $50 into it, played around with it. Seems to work.
Nice.
Uh,
I just got my email
Strike
the
is
other day
great.
for Strike. I just got my email for Strike that I can get paid in Bitcoin now. I need to get that set up. I want to get it set up so that I just have
Oh, can you?
500.
When I checked last, you could just receive from other Lightning addresses, but not yet. And you could send to any Bitcoin address, but you could not yet receive Bitcoin, like from layer one. You could just. So it's
Yeah,
but
it's,
they have been sort of introducing new features monthly.
yeah, it
With
was
my
a
bank
waitlist that
account.
I had to sign up for.
I thought it was, I mean, obviously nothing as as complex and groundbreaking as those smart contracts and DeFi projects, but you know, if Bitcoin actually manages to solve micropayments, that would be huge. Like that would be interesting. So I've been sort of looking into a little bit of the theory and some of the like in practice. Seems legit. I mean I wish I knew more about it though. I mean I wish I understood it better. Because if it is what it seems right now, it's huge. It's like I went to China a couple of years ago and nobody carried a wallet or cash or anything. They just paid everything with their phones. Like that's a thing that happened pretty seamlessly somewhere, not here, but somewhere it happened. Like people said like, okay, so now this is the object that we have to be careful not to lose. It's our phone now. No longer a card. It's no longer our cash. It's no longer a wallet. Now just don't lose your phone. And
Yeah.
if
I read an article that it was like 7 states, I think, and I wish I could remember which ones they were, but I'm sure if you look it up on Google, there are like 6 or 7 states now that are piloting a program to you can have your ID in Apple Wallet. So like if you get, pulled over, or if you're going any kind of official business where you would normally show like your state issued ID, instead you can have that as like a digital version in your Apple Wallet. And that's it's like official. They have to, they'll accept it. And so there's, it's already starting to happen for sure, that there's like more of a push to, everything is going to be kind of on your phone at some point.
Right. So if all of this evolves like it seems like it's going to, it would seem that you can actually use Bitcoin to pay for coffee, and it's not. I mean, it's not just you can. It's not stupid to do so, because you've been able to for a while, but it hasn't been very seamless.
I think it would be nice to see the volatility go down a little bit before you actually use it as currency or cash.
And then all these other projects like the proof of stake networks and Ethereum and Cardano and I think Polkadot, and I've read recently about Solana. Like there's a bunch of those. They can those would be platforms for like settling credit, right? For moving money from one to another, but like commerce could actually happen. So it's all coming along pretty cool.
I feel like DeFi could potentially reduce the volatility of some of these base assets.
I mean,
because when more and more
the short-term volatility, yes, because it moves liquidity around between net lenders and net borrowers, and that's the role of market maker.
When you have a lot of assets that are actually put to work inside smart contracts, it kind of reduces the amount of speculation, and that potentially could push down the volatility.
To an extent, no, like you could say that about the subprime mortgage market, and look what happened.
Well, the thing is, DeFi is actually, believe it or not, very conservative. Like there's very little leverage in the system right now. Hopefully
it has to be that way, because you have no way of telling apart a high risk borrower from a low risk borrower. So everybody gets relatively high interest, and as of now, I mean, every participant in the market is more or less indistinguishable except for the collateral that they can post. So in that sense, until DeFi manages to create some sort of reputation or something that can be carried, like your history with DeFi or something like that, you're still going to have that all the users, essentially anybody asking to borrow $100 is the same, right? Like maybe some people want to, gamble it in some NFT game, or some other people want to use it to build something. You have no way of telling.
Yeah. So you do need the collateral for now, but still, even with that, it's compared to traditional finance, is actually very conservative. And the reason for that is first of all, there's no central bank backing DeFi, so it needs to stay solvent, right? And also another thing is DeFi just overall has very low capital efficiency, because we're still building it out, right? We're still building it out. When you have something that experimental, is better to be kind of on the side of caution, right? You don't want to.
In the limit case, if you have to post 100% collateral, then there's no sort of creation of money through the credit market like there is in the fiat system.
Oh, we're talking 140% collateral.
Right. So the lower that is, the more, in a sense, that liquidity is being created, is sort of injected into the system with each transaction. It's the money multiplier from So when you have no way of assessing people's like how likely it is to payment likelihood, then they become indistinguishable. So everything looks conservative. The interest rate is a little bit high, the collateral requirements are high, and the leverage is low. So.
And liquidity fragmentation is another huge issue. Like you mentioned, right? All those chains like Solana, Polygon, what was the Avalanche or something? All these chains, right? The thing is, when you have that many chains. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
Polkadot. I just like that name, so I threw it out there.
Polkadot. Well, I mean, all the chains that are actually operational with DeFi. We're looking at Solana. There's a DeFi, Terra. There's a little bit of DeFi, Avalanche, yeah, a little bit. Polygon for sure, BSC, right? And the liquidity is really pretty fragmented. It's kind of all over the place, right? You have some, and they're mostly kind of copy pasta projects. And the problem there is now you have a lot of kind of different rates, different prices everywhere because of that liquidity fragmentation, and then that really makes it less usable, right? So that's another problem that's being solved, like cross-chain liquidity. That is not easy. A lot of protocols are getting hacked because they're trying to do that. It's very difficult to move funds across different chains. It's not an easy problem, basically, or to provide, especially if they're not compatible with each other, right? Like Solana, for example, is not a EVM chain. It's not an Ethereum compatible chain. Polygon is more. BSC is Ethereum compatible, right? So moving between BSC and Ethereum, that's not as difficult as saying you got to move between Ethereum and Solana. Then it really becomes challenging. That's why you don't see any copy pasta projects on Solana, and that's why I think it's somewhat impressive, right? That they're able to bootstrap DeFi from scratch without getting a ton of support from Ethereum, right? Like if you look at Binance Smart Chain, it pretty much just forked Ethereum and replaced the consensus algorithm and basically call it a different chain, right? Well, then it's not really hard to migrate some of the existing contracts. So you just have to rebuild it for BSC, and then now you're on there, right? That's why a lot of these projects were moving pretty quickly, like SushiSwap and Aave. They were moving pretty quickly, right? Curve to get on some of these side chains. But then if you look at something like Solana, now you don't see Aave on Solana, or you don't see Curve, right? Because then it's actually they gotta rewrite the whole thing. It's a lot of work, and it's written in not in Solidity, is written in Rust and something else, right? So that's gonna require a ton of work to actually go and
Solana, the one that's written in Haskell.
Oh man, yeah, Cardano. Yeah, I don't even want to think about that one. I don't even want to think about that. But yeah.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, they're gonna have to, like, I don't plan to do anything on Cardano anytime soon. They're gonna have to incentivize like developers a lot to get them to switch over to Cardano. That's for sure. Yeah, they're not gonna put up with that crap. Like at least Rust is if you learn Rust, it's at least not gonna be wasted, right? Like if you're able to learn Rust, and then even if you don't end up doing stuff on Solana, you're still gonna be able to use it elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Haskell except when I used to do the project Euler, the project Euler code problems.
Oh yeah.
The coding problems.
I think so.
Sometimes after I solved one, I would look at other people's solution, and the ones in Haskell were just completely impossible to read.
I mean,
like you read a solution in like C or Java or Rust or Julia or Python. You get it, right? Like sort of. But Haskell is just numbers, weird stuff all over the place. It doesn't even look human.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying, oh, well, Solidity is also not. Well, first of all, Solidity looks pretty similar to JavaScript in a lot of ways, and also Ethereum. They were the first to come up with this, right? So, I mean, when you're the only platform, I mean, you can kind of be cocky, right? You could say, hey, you either learn this or you're not going to use smart contracts. But right now,
Yeah,
the
they
problem
have a
with
lot of tooling too. I mean, you have all the tooling
yeah,
that goes with
right.
it. Solana's got command line, and you know
Yeah,
it's Rust, and Rust takes a decade to compile. I mean, it's horrible in terms of a language.
Yeah, Ethereum, I mean, Ethereum, it has a lot of tools. I mean, the tools could be better, I would say. I mean, I would love for them to develop better tools. Like, I think Hard Hat and Brownie, they're pretty good overall, but still, I mean, debugging is still kind of a nightmare sometimes. So like, it's just the tools. Yeah, both in terms of building smart contracts and also like ops, right? Smart contract ops. Like Open Zeppelin has really done a lot of work around smart contract operations to make like, because if things break, you're really gonna have to have some good tools for you to be able to go there and take care of stuff. So and yeah, and you need all of that, right? So that's all. And Cardano, if they're gonna even kind of remotely trying to compete with Ethereum, then they're gonna have to have all the tools, all the developers trying to basically building stuff, and also they need to have smart contract ops, like operations. I don't know how their smart contracts are designed, but the problem with smart contracts is that they cannot, they require external, some kind of external input, some kind of transaction for it to work. It's kind of like stored procedures or something. It's like a smart contract cannot spontaneously run something. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't have a cron job or housekeeping or anything that just runs. Any function call requires like a transaction to happen. So you actually have to go and call something. Like it's all passive. It's all like reactive. It doesn't. That actually has a lot of. I would say it's actually that's actually a big issue, because a lot of times with these DeFi contracts, you actually need to periodically run things, right? Whether it's like liquidations or accounting or like accruing interest, settlement, all that kind of stuff. So not having a robust way of running periodic tasks, that's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, right? So like Ethereum is starting like Chainlink keepers. That's kind of a new thing that's coming out to allow you to be able to run tasks, so you can write a smart contract that defines what the task is going to do, and then the keepers network would call the contract periodically, and that's good, right? So you want all of that. I don't know how their stuff is written, but they're not going to have any of that stuff from the get-go, right? So all of that stuff is pretty important, and you don't want to really run like a periodic. You don't want to like just spin up AWS instance. I mean, that's not the right way to do it. Obviously, it's like you have this decentralized system, and then now you have like a centralized bot somewhere, right? That it's almost like you have an NFT, but your storage is still like S3 or like Google Cloud or something. That's absolutely not the right way to do it. If you're going to do NFTs, you don't want to use Amazon to store your images or something, right? So yeah, so that's a lot. These are all issues that people are trying to solve, and they're not easy, not simple problems for sure.
So James, there's no other layer one besides Ethereum that you would be even interested in moving to, like to writing code for or anything?
I would say Solana and Terra, I would be kind of going to kind of experiment with a little bit. Solana is pretty interesting. One thing I am concerned about Solana is their storage, like the amount of storage that it's generating, right? Because it's running so fast. And I mean, might be okay for a year or two, but eventually it's going to be that chain is going to be so big that storing that in a decentralized fashion is going to be challenging, right? If anything, is going to be costly, I think. So that's a problem that they're going to have to solve. So they have a different problem compared to everybody has issues. Every chain has like some problems, right? Not like Ethereum is, we know the problem is scalability and we're scaling. We're like, you have L2s and potentially ETH2, right? That's Ethereum's main issue.
Do people run nodes of Bitcoin or of Ethereum?
Ethereum, yeah, I'm running a node right here. Full node. I'm not running a archival node, but I'm running a full node. So I am able to run all of my smart contract operations locally. At least I get to check and check. I can do all. Yeah, I can send. I don't need to use like MetaMask or something. I can directly interact with my node to interact with contracts. Yes, but like, yeah, so it is still pretty easy to run, still reasonable to run an Ethereum node. And with Solana, my concern is eventually it's gonna require so much storage, and the hardware is gonna be pretty beefy, right? You're not gonna have a petabyte of storage just lying around, for example, right? So you're not going to have like that level of decentralization when you require that much storage. So I don't know, like I don't know what the plan is. It's going to take a couple of years for it to get there, right? But I mean, it is 50,000 transactions per second they can handle. So that is a lot of data being generated. No matter how you compress and optimize, there's still a lot of data that's generated, right? So, and yeah, that's kind of the way I see Solana. And Terra is kind of interesting too, because that's built using Cosmos. I don't know if anybody here uses Terra at all, like UST and
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
Not me.
It's kind of a new thing. I don't know. I'm still kind of looking into it. Kind of play around with it.
Tendermint is pretty cool.
Tendermint, yes, Tendermint, and that's also Thorchain is also based on that. Thorchain is the cross-chain liquidity thing. I almost joined this startup that's doing some coding for Thorchain, but they didn't move fast enough, and they were way too secretive. They didn't want to tell me what they were working on, like specifically. I was like, well, but Thorchain is I don't know. It's hopefully it gets they could fix some of the bugs, and it's going to work at some point. Then you'll be able to do swaps between like Ethereum and Bitcoin, or potentially some of these other chains, which is still kind of an issue right now, is bridging all of these chains. Right? And I don't know, these are hard problems.
That's interesting. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sorry for throwing that much information.
I'm sort of only vaguely aware of what's going on in DeFi and stuff. I know it has exploded this past few months. I know I had like $10 of Solana in Coinbase, and now that's like $100 now. So
Yeah, Solana's.
I figured something was happening over there, but honestly, I'm much more absorbed.
I actually don't know why Solana exploded. I think it could be because of NFTs or something. I don't know.
I think it has
Honestly,
Yeah, it was the
has something to do
NFTs
with
and also interest from Andreessen Horowitz on some of the others.
oh right.
and some big people got into it. Like I saw some Chinese entrepreneurs going really big into Solana and like
Oh really? I see.
talking
Oh man,
about
Andreessen Horowitz, man, that company is gonna be a full-time DeFi politician at some point, because they have so many DeFi tokens that at some point they're just gonna do like full-time DeFi governance. They're gonna go to every protocol and just vote.
their strategy seems to be see what sticks, no?
Well, the thing is, they have a lot of tokens of all these major DeFi protocols. A lot of tokens, like MakerDAO. For
Yeah, so
example. They control huge-
that's how you bet in the space.
Well, they just raised a $2.2 billion fund, so I think they've got a little bit of money to play with.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, DeFi is certainly interesting. It's if you think about it, it's essentially turning these financial institutions into vending machines. So I was like, what's the best way to visualize DeFi? So this is the best way to visualize it. So for something like Uniswap, the best way to visualize it is if you go downstairs and you see a vending machine, you put in like dollars on one side, and then you get like Tesla shares on the other side or something. Like Tesla shares will come out. That's the best way to visualize DeFi.
Well, and I suppose like a vending machine, you can get something that sort of gets the job done in a pinch.
Yes, without
but it's never
yeah.
the perfect solution to your problem, right?
Well, I mean, the vending machine knows how much cash it has and how many shares of Tesla stock it has. So it knows the price. It can compute the price from the liquidity curve, right?
Right, but when you buy something from a vending machine, like if you buy, I don't know, a bag of Doritos or a pack of pens because you're about to take an exam. It's like you go to a vending machine that has a number of sort of standardized products that will get the job done. But obviously, if you had more time to plan and like more time to react, you would not be buying them. You would be, I don't know, cooking.
Well, the difference between your standard vending machine and DeFi is DeFi is a network of vending machines across the world that kind of instantly communicate with each other, right? And so the liquidity profile updates everywhere. So it's not just an isolated it's not an isolated thing, right? So like if I were to buy a bag of chips from this vending machine, it would update every single vending machine across the world and saying that the transaction just happened, and then they would all adjust the current price of that bag of chips accordingly, right? That's really what DeFi is about. It's an unhackable global network of vending machines for financial products, whether it's borrowing, lending, or insurance, or options, derivatives, stocks, or hopefully someday stocks, right? Right now you can do stock.
Well, a little bit
derivatives
for those decentralized companies. Like I have a bunch of tokens from what's his name? You know Voorhees?
Eric Voorhees, Shapeshift?
Yeah,
Fox
Shapeshift.
token.
I have a bunch
Yeah,
of Fox tokens because I used that thing for a while, and then I got some Fox tokens, and I don't really.
But I would not consider that to be DeFi though, because because you are, first of all, it is custodial in the sense that when you want to make a swap, they create a wallet for you, right? You don't have control over that. You don't have the private key to that. And then you would send your Bitcoin over to one of their wallets, and then they would go and probably through some kind of centralized exchange. I doubt that they're using DEX just because of
I
liquidity.
think the point of the Fox tokens is
Well, they are trying, but they're building their whole thing on top of Thorchain. So let's hope Thorchain works, right? So that's why I mentioned Thorchain, because so in order to have a true cross-chain DEX, you need liquidity from both sides, and you need a way for the chains to communicate in a kind of atomic hack-proof kind of way, right? And that's not easy. But for something like Ethereum DeFi, it's a little bit easier, right? Because all the tokens are Ethereum tokens. They're all like ERC tokens, right? So that's a little bit easier. That's way more decentralized. Like this DeFi is completely non-custodial, right? You do not have to surrender your private key. You're not sending. You're either sending your funds to a smart contract that's not controlled by anybody, hopefully, or you keep your private key, right? That's important. You cannot lose custody of your funds. Basically like Uniswap, for example, right? When you provide liquidity, you're providing, let's say you got some Ethereum and some USDT or USDC or something. And then you're putting Ethereum and USDT into Uniswap, and then you're getting back some pool tokens that kind of represent your the claim you have on those tokens. Now that pool token is now in your custody, right? Whoever has custody of the pool tokens will be able to go and redeem the funds from the smart contract. And there's no way to stop somebody from redeeming. So it's as good as like the underlying tokens, right? The pool tokens are as good as the underlying tokens because it's just one Ethereum transaction away from becoming, well, unless you get some gas, like an NFT droppers, that's different, right? Those are technical issues that eventually will be addressed through either L2 scaling or some other stuff. But like from a security standpoint, there is no way to block somebody, just like there's no way to block somebody from sending a Bitcoin transaction. There's no way to block somebody from withdrawing your liquidity from Uniswap. Like the SEC, they try, they're gonna say, hey, Uniswap, you gotta take down your website because you're selling like unregistered tokens or something. But then people can still go and withdraw from the actual Uniswap contract, right? They don't even have to use a website. I can do it from my node, right? I can just get it, right? So there really is no way to stop. So once everything is decentralized, there really shouldn't be a way to stop somebody from doing something. But with Shapeshift, unless they move towards this model, like with smart contracts and stuff, there's a way to stop them from doing stuff, right? Like Changely, for example, or like Change Now. There's another like Shapeshift-ish thing. Yeah, they can stop, like they're
right.
Yeah, change that, right? They can stop, like if you just look at their like all the complaints they have, like somebody try to change something and then the funds are locked, they've locked up the funds or something, right? So they're not letting the transaction go through because it's like there's some they claim, yeah, some AI whatever machine learning crap that they have that like flag the transaction, right? And then now you got to upload KYC or they're not going to release the funds. but that's not decentralized, right? If you anytime you see that kind of stuff, that can't be. That's not decentralized. That's not what DeFi is about, right? If like DeFi, if that required like, if somebody could just block you from withdrawing from a liquidity pool, then that's not really DeFi, right? So I don't know. Shapeshift maybe someday they'll go and become fully decentralized, but I don't know if that has been achieved or not. Yeah.
Well, anybody else have any other questions for James? James, wow, you're very knowledgeable, man. I'm really glad that we had an opportunity to have you participate and bring some value to the content that you're sharing. Yeah, this DeFi and NFTs have exploded in the last 6 to 7 months. And we know the future is definitely coming, and we know that you're not going to stop technology. We won't see it in our lifetime. I don't think it'll ever happen. But at any rate, we appreciate you bringing the value that you've shared tonight. And
thanks. Thanks. Yeah.
I'm sorry I got here a little late, but this is exactly what we've tried to continue to provide for our meetup group, because it's kind of new to our locality. Somewhat, we've tried to educate as many people that want to come and learn, because I believe it all starts with education. You got to learn what's going on and then find out what's most important to you, and then have a laser focus on that if that's what your focus is. But I find that we have quality content shared in this group, and I have to say also a quality of people as well. And that's always appreciative, because it's all about the mindset. People are quiet and attentively listening to what's being shared. And I can't ask for much more than that in a group setting. And when we're trying to provide this kind of content. So I'm very grateful and appreciative to each and every one of you that have come out tonight on a Labor Day. I'm working anyway, so I guess I don't know where that labor went, but I'm still working. But yeah, we're just glad to have had you here. And wow, we definitely want to have all of you back. But James, we'd like to, see if you can set aside a couple of opportunities where we can record it, and have those recordings for anybody that wants to grab those recordings on our site.
Yeah, and no pressure. I mean, it doesn't have to be October even, but if you want it to be, we meet officially the first Monday of every month. And so if you wanted to prep something for, 15 minutes, whatever, if you want to take more, that's cool. If you want to take less, that's also cool. Again, as you noticed, we're pretty relaxed here. It's, in fitting with Bellingham's motto, it's the currency meetup of subdued excitement, right? So, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to learn more about stuff like NFTs. I know what they are. It's just I'm not hugely into
yeah,
NFTs.
I've actually been trying to learn more about NFTs for one of the nonprofits that I work with. We're looking at doing an NFT as a charity fundraiser, and so I would love to get down that rabbit hole a little more, and then at some point I'd love to present just like a basic intro to NFTs just for people that are interested. I'm not at that point yet myself. So
yeah, I've written a few NFT contracts, but I only know about NFTs from the kind of the technical standpoint, like how they function and how to write NFT contracts. But what I don't get is what makes an NFT good, right? Like what makes it,
right.
What makes
it?
I
have something for you. Because I have been pretty much focused on the Bitcoin part of the crypto space, but I do get why NFTs could be a big deal. And I think it's related to the issue that you have with the credit markets in DeFi, is the fact that you have to treat everybody the same. Basically, any person is the same as any other person because you have no history. With NFTs or there are other ways, you can establish identities. Once you can establish identities, you can establish reputation. You can establish reputation, you can have a great history, and you have a credit market that's blown wide open. You don't need one market, one interest rate for everybody. You can have differentiated interest rates that depend on the risk level of each person. And all of that begins with identity. You need, just as we have identity in the, in the mid space, in the real world, something like NFTs could become identity in the, like in the digital asset space, and that's it. You have another piece of the puzzle of the migration of the whole financial system to the. Of course, people are using it to draw silly monkeys and rocks. That's fine. That's
well, those monkeys could potentially be
that's how everything
your
begins. But
that the monkey could be your identity, right? That's
what I'm
right?
saying.
Yeah.
And if it happens, and it becomes a sort of irrefutable proof of identity, right? Because you can copy it, but you cannot really copy it. You can sort of copy it, but not truly. So only the owner of the NFT can demonstrate ownership of the NFT. So it can become your identity. And as of now, people are playing with it, just like, like everything, you play with it first. But if the thing catches on, I can see a world in which those initial NFTs become like super cool collectible pieces. Like right now, just, I don't know, a Greek, an ancient Greek vase that was just like a normal family's drinking water thing. Now it's a thing because it's old and it connects us with parts of our history. So I can see the rock becoming a thing. But that's not why it's exciting, right? Why it's exciting is because it could introduce something similar to identity, and it doesn't even have to be related to your flesh identity. It can be something that exists only in the crypto space, and that can be super cool. Like that's
so if you own a crypto
that's metaverse, right? Like that's when we jump and live there.
If you own a crypto punk, you get to borrow without collateral, right? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, if you have borrowed without collateral a lot of times in your past, I mean, with collateral a lot of time in your past, like say 40 times, and now you are able, and you always paid on time, now a lender can be a little bit more friendly with you. You can have a little more friendly terms, because it would be a lot of work for you to reestablish that history from scratch. So your older history becomes valuable because it's older, right? So you are a silly monkey which has successfully completed 25 previous episodes of borrowing and paying. Now the length of that history becomes something that can be used to assess your level of risk.
But I feel like in order to give somebody with good credit something like a discount, then you really got to screw over people with bad credit, right? Like,
yes,
like
of course.
You got to really raise.
Oh, of course. But right now you are screwing up people with good credit because you're giving them the same rate that you.
Yeah, now we're treating everybody the same.
Like
yes,
now, it's like good creditors are subsidizing through that same interest rate bad creditors. But when you have them differentiated, then you can have like a market equilibrium that corresponds to each level of risk. That's huge. That's huge. That was huge for insurance market.
Actually, nobody's working on this, by the way. No.
Well, I've been thinking.
I'm not aware. You want to work on it? I'm not aware of any. Well, I don't have time to do that, but if anybody has time, this is a $1 billion idea. There is no. I'm not aware of a single DeFi project that's doing that. The only project that's remotely even related to it, like ArcX, I think, they're still not really working on it. They're just selling NFTs right now.
And why would they? If there's
that there's no, yes. I'm not aware of a,
too.
yeah, I'm not aware of a concrete project that's actually trying to establish credit history in DeFi. And if you can pull it off and integrate with all these lenders.
Oh, I'm actually an economist, so I know all of these things about credit markets and finance and all of that.
Yeah.
And I know only a little bit about coding and I mean I know about the Bitcoin code, but I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
well,
not.
I'm kind of I kind of
have a lot of ideas. Yeah.
Kind of force myself to learn a little bit of finance just because of the DeFi stuff. Otherwise, it's impossible to understand this stuff. But yeah, but that's cool. Like that's the thing that's really lacking right now.
Well, I mean, my first reaction with the NFTs, like everybody's, I suspect, was this is fucking stupid. Like, why are these children paying for these monkeys? No, but then you start sort of like. You cannot just assume that a bunch of people are stupid, right? You have to try to understand what underlying phenomenon that's sort of demonstrating. And if you start thinking deep about it, you can see in the end, every human cultural product, everything that we are and we do, the books, the industry, the very complicated supply chains, everything has a component of we need to have memory, we need to have reputation, we need to have identity. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be your face, but something that tells potential future individuals that they can transact with you, and it doesn't have to be a new risk each time. Like, it's not like the memory of civilization resets with each interaction, is that you can carry your history with you, and that has value. So super cool.
That's a good point. That's like what I was thinking, right? Because I was like, why these NFT? I was like, well, when you and the market disagree, the market is usually right.
Oh, so go buy your rock today.
So I was like, why then? What am I missing, right? Like, I mean, if the market, they can't all be that stupid. Right, it can't be like it's almost like the no coiners like looking at us and they think we're like stupid or something. We're like delusional or something.
That's how I thought about it. Like I said, this is stupid and looks like a scam, and I thought, well, this is why normies say about Bitcoin, right? So
or DeFi.
Like make some mental effort. Like there might be something there. I think there is.
Yeah, because I mean. There's definitely something, because it's like it's difficult if you don't understand it, or if you don't actually, like, I feel like a lot of these influencers on Twitter, they're pretty sold on the NFT identity thing, right? Like everybody has a little avatar that pretty much
it's not necessary for it. Like, not necessarily everybody is thinking what I'm thinking. I don't think so. It's possible that a bunch of people are just riding the wave, and they're doing it because everybody else is doing it. But there is a world in which we start using NFTs as sort of containers of our history, of our credit history, and it becomes the same as your your credit score.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean,
yeah, there's definitely. I mean, when a new thing comes out, there's definitely like it's always going to be a money grab, right? People are going to try to do simple. I mean, just like the ICOs, right? Back in 2017, like initially it was all like legit and stuff. Like people had websites, like a white paper, and made it all look nice. And then the quality really started to go downhill, right? Then after a while, they didn't even a white paper, like nothing, like, and then like everything was just all like, and that was pretty much the top, right?
Hey, listen,
when everything goes.
If you decide to work on this and wanna talk a little bit about it, let me know.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'm sort of up for. I'm not. I've been studying crypto since a while, several years already, but I'm still not like a doer. I think at some point I would like to start contributing to the space, not just learning about it and thinking about it. But I thought about it pretty hard, and I think, yeah, I have thoughts.
Yeah. The credit thing is definitely needed. If we're not going to do it, somebody will, right? Because this is critical. It's like fixed rate lending. It's a critical piece of financial instrument, that piece of the infrastructure that's like, it's not optional. Like, even if notional fails, someone else is going to do fixed rate lending. This isn't something that people can live without. It's imagine if there were no fixed rate lending in traditional finance, how would you borrow money? How would you do anything? Right? So you need it. This is something that's absolutely necessary. It's not about whether or not there's going to be a use case for this. It's more about how to get there, like how to actually implement it. I think that's tricky, but it's definitely needed. I mean, just like trading and options.
I mean, honestly, credit markets have existed at least as long as writing. No, really, like our earliest examples of writing are all involved debt in some way. I think like the earliest form of human writing that we have some recordings of is some dude complaining that some copper that he bought on credit was not.
The Rosetta Stone, right?
But
Isn't that also
no, they needed the Rosetta Stone.
Was that like tax?
That one,
tax
which
debt
was
or something?
older. So no, it's credit markets are really, really, really old. I don't want to just say they're as old as civilization, but they're really old. Like, as long as we have had assets, there is a little bit.
It's definitely needed.
Think about it, the family is a little bit like a credit market, because you feed the children when they're young and useless, and you expect to be fed later in your life, right?
Speaking of
that's a form of transfer of wealth, and it's, in a sense, a
speaking of old, I'm about ready to pass out over here, so I'm gonna drop. You guys are welcome to hang and talk some more if you want. I can leave the room open. Up to you. I'm running out of steam. I had a long 3-day weekend, so.
All right.
No problem, brother.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to drop off as well, but yeah, it's great. It's great talking to you guys. I'll definitely next time I'll prepare something, and then we'll just
Yeah, man, that'd be rad.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, good people, thank you so much for your time. We will do this again. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that we recorded this one. We're getting better at doing that. I think we've missed out on a couple that were good because we didn't think about that, but it's okay. But you guys are amazing. I learned a lot myself from what you were sharing, and look forward to gathering again the first Monday of October. Put some thought to reoccurring Zoom meetings. I think we put that out there a couple of weeks ago to see what people would like. If you would like us to do the Zooms on the first Mondays, we still want to, when it's safe to do so, we want to meet. And or probably do a combination anyway. For those that can't meet physically, they can join via Zoom. So put some thought to that. We want some feedback from you guys. So let us know, okay?
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Have a great week, and see you next time.
See you guys. Bye.
Have a good evening.
Take care.